Hey guys, I've been making digital art for a long time, but there's been one phase in my career that was early on that made the biggest impact and change. It was this period of time where I was quitting digital art, but then I came back and within a year I made a lot of improvement to the point where the portfolio I created got me a job in Disney. So I decided to create a 1 year plan for you guys to follow with whatever I did, but with also improvements on it to make it a little bit more friendlier and not as stressful and have a lot more fun along the way. Alright guys, so let's start by looking at the agenda, and we are currently in the intro phase, which I'm going to finish right now, and then we're going to move into phase 1, which is the building blocks, where we are going to build all the skills that we're going to take forward as artists and use in all our future artworks. And this is going to take about 4 months that we're going to invest into this, and don't worry, it's going to be super fun. And you guys are going to be making some of your best artworks yet. In this phase, we're going to have a lot of fun. Okay, next is phase 2, which is the building creativity phase. Here's where we are going to create a lot of original artworks, learn how to combine references, create insane pieces that only you could create, and we're going to do it in the most fun way possible again. Over here, we are going to spend about 4 months. And in these 8 months, you guys are going to create more art than you have ever created in a year before, and it's going to be insane. And other people are going to be like, what did you do? How did you level up so fast? Okay, and then we're going to spend the last phase into building masterpieces, where we are going to work on your own original projects as artists. These are going to be projects that are going to set you apart and create some of your most iconic stuff yet. And here the projects can range anywhere from 4 months to however long you want to take, and however long you want, and just take it ahead, do whatever you want with it, whether you're an animator, an artist, a game designer, whatever you're looking at, right? It all depends on that. They all have different timelines and so on. Now, my goals for this are to give you guys as much value as I can in an hour and make this class the best one yet, and to improve as a teacher myself. So let's get straight to the building blocks of phase 1, and this is going to be super simple and straightforward. We are just going to look at 2 building blocks, which is sketching and painting. Now, a lot of artists, especially when starting off, get incredibly stressed out over the fact like they don't know where to start, whether they have to learn a digital painting software. How do we do this? Do I watch a tutorial on painting an apple? Do I learn gradients? Do I learn all the techniques, download a ton of brushes? Or do I first get good at traditional art and sketching, drawing on paper, all of that? Where do I begin? Where do I start? We are going to start by combining both of them in a very simple and straightforward way. And firstly, we're going to talk about why. Okay, and that's going to clear up a lot of things for you guys. So why sketching? Because it is the easiest entry level to being an artist. You don't need anything but a pen on paper, pencil on paper, and it costs almost nothing. And it's low effort, where you do not have to think about things like colors, values, lighting, or any of that that comes with painting and a lot of technical skill. And after that, the most important thing is that better drawing equals better art. Now, as you get better with drawing, you get better at understanding forms, shapes. A lot of the fundamentals come with just drawing, like anatomy, structure, all of that. And also, another important thing is that your drawing influences your art style a lot. Because your art style, I know a lot of you guys want to create some unique art styles that set you apart and make you iconic. And I'm sure, I promise you, if you follow this plan by the end of this year, you will be doing that. And that's awesome. That's our goals. But you need to be good at drawing, because drawing helps you exaggerate, simplify, make things more detailed, all of that. That all comes with better drawing and hence better art. And then it removes attachment and perfectionism, which happens a lot, especially in digital painting, where we have too many tools and too many options where we can add layers, add blending modes, add lighting in this way, remove lighting in this way, Control Z, make all the changes, liquefy, filters, all of that. Drawing is just one and done, right? You may erase and redo something here and there, but once you finish a sketch, it's done. And lastly, but also one of the most important things, is it allows us to fail fast at the lowest cost. Okay, now we need to keep failing and using those as stepping stones to move ahead. We can spend like 15 minutes on a sketch, we scrap it, but we still made a sketch and we know where to improve on the next time. And it does not cost much. It does not take us 15 hours to make a painting and then realize that we hate it. So yeah, drawing allows failing fast, and that is super important. Next thing is why painting. Painting is to learn colors, textures, lighting, and other fundamentals. Okay, that all comes with digital software and creating art that just has colors in general. And to get good at using digital art software, whichever ones you pick, there's no right or wrong with this. You can use Photoshop, Procreate, Clip Studio, Art Studio, Krita, anything, whatever you prefer. And to develop your own workflows, tools, brushes, and so on. Now, every artist that you see online has a different way of doing their own things. And that comes from your own comfort zone and your own preferences as an artist. There's no right or wrong way to make something. So we want to use that to advantage and develop our own workflow tools and brushes. Now, also, it's to not get bored with either sketching or painting and to balance them out instead, because painting is a lot more higher of an investment that we have to put into it. And a lot of times we do not get the time and place to carry an iPad or sit at a desk with a computer and drawing tablet or phone and drawing tablet, whatever you guys are using. It takes a lot to even get started with that. And we have events going on, so it's hard to actually get things it's hard to actually be consistent with that. So sometimes when we get just too bored with painting, we take a break and we never get back. So we want to keep switching between sketching, painting a lot. Keeps it a lot more fun. Okay, so the plan is to study as much as we can. And a study is when we use a reference image and create a copy of it to the best of our abilities. We're not going to be tracing, we're not going to be just copy pasting, we're going to be drawing and painting based on the reference images that we see. So if you are a beginner, do not set a time limit. Just get used to sketching and painting every day and start setting a 1 to 2 hour time limit as you get better. Now, I set half an hour to 1 hour just off the top of my head because I usually finish an art book within that time. And the goal, this is very important, that we are looking at is to create a minimum of one sketch study per day, a minimum. Okay, you guys can do as much as you want. And a minimum of one painting study every 2 days. And why every 2 days? Because like I said earlier, we may have a lot of commitments that come up, events to go to, outings, all of that, that we do not get into the perfect space to sit and make a finished painting. So we want to do this at least if you skip 2 days in a row, like try and make two paintings in the future, like try and keep match up to that. But yeah, one painting every alternate day is good enough. So what do we sketch and paint, right? Just saying this is all fine, right? One sketch, one painting, but let's get into the specifics. Firstly, for beginners, all right, we want to be sketching organic forms first. Now, what are organic forms? Organic forms are things that we usually find in nature. They have a lot of curves, a lot of things that don't have sharp edges, don't have a lot of straight lines, all of that. For example, you can see that there are rocks and grass, plants, animals, all of that. Those are organic forms. Then we want to slowly move into inorganic. Inorganic is usually harder because they tend to be a lot more man-made and a lot more precise forms. There's a lot of perspective involved, architectural structures, backgrounds with a lot of perspective and all involved in all of that. Even if you're trying to draw, for example, a car, it's incredibly hard because just single curves can make it look off, right? And why is it important to start with organic? Because it's the most forgiving. For example, if you have a reference image of a tree that looks like something like this, right? And you make a sketch of a tree that looks maybe a little different, right? The thing is, it still is a tree and you can tell it's a tree. You can go like 50-60% off and it still looks like a tree. And the rule is to basically stick to real world references and don't aim for perfection. Now, these are some of the sketches I've made along my journey of just improving as an artist. And I just put them in the sketchbook template and all of that. So yeah, just stick to organic forms. Start with things like rocks, trees, bushes. Then you can move slowly into your inorganic forms, like things that have houses that also have a combination of some organic forms to make it a little easier to transition to. Like I've drawn these houses, but there's also like grass, there's leaves, all of that. It's made out of rocks and stuff, so I don't have to make it as precise as like some buildings or structures that we see in the modern world. So then you can move on to animals. And honestly, if you want, if you're good with faces, people, you can start with people. But I moved on to people at the last because, like I said, people are also very easily recognizable. So if you move the eye up 1 inch, it'll look off. So I find them a lot harder than just doing backgrounds. So I slowly moved into that. Now, what happens if you're an intermediate to an advanced person? Okay, So we want to look at people who are not exactly beginners and are stuck in this intermediate phase. Okay, we want to start sketching and adding your own twist on top of reference images. We want to stylize or build it up as your own stories. And no tracing or using any shortcuts like copy pasting or any of that. Let's look at two references that I've recently done. So I found this image on Pinterest of like an Indian market space, like an alleyway. I think it's in Delhi, and I created my own twist of it. It's not a one-to-one copy. I just took a lot of the references from there and then added my own character, added my own story to it that I'm building. It's a personal project. And once again, yeah, like I took this sketch of like this motorcycle and then I tweaked it, changed it, added in like side mirrors, added in a different fuel source, which is based on my own story that you can see this canister over here. Just made a few small changes and added my own character with a gym bag, all of that. And those are things that you can be doing. Okay, so take a reference image and build up slightly on top of it because you've already been making art for a long time. So what's left now is to start adding a bit more creativity and storytelling to it. So here are a few more examples to look at. So this on the left is a train reference image that I found, and here's a sketch that I made, and I tweaked the background a little. As you can see, I added some people, added another train, added my own character, and just tweaked it a little more, just like that. And here's another reference image where I really like the perspective here, so I tried to recreate it and then add my own character again. Just building a little storytelling there. Now, let's move on to painting. So when it comes to painting, let's set some rules, okay? No color picking. So what is color picking? Where you have a reference image, like for example, this image on the left, and we can select this color and then immediately steal it and use it. And then select this color, steal it and use it. Select this color, use it, right? We do not want any of that. We want to be able to use a color palette however you guys like, a color wheel or a HSB sliders or anything like that, and then manually pick colors because we want to get good at colors, okay? That's very important. So no tracing as well, and there are no other rules. Use whatever workflow you like. Use rough sketches first if you want, paint from back to front, paint from front to back, use whatever techniques you want. There's no other rules, just get the study done, and that is all. So the goal for this is to learn the digital art software, explore and experiment with brushes, tutorials, textures, and so on. Remember, you have to experiment. So let go of some of your old workflows and just experiment. And if you are new here, it's fun, okay? Watch a lot of tutorials online on how different artists make different things and try and copy that as well. Start with simple references and then increase the complexity. For a beginner, try and copy paste the reference as is. And for someone who's intermediate or advanced, add your own twist and stylize it. Let's look at some studies that I've done. So the reference image for these is on the top and the study I've done is on the bottom. Oh, perfect. So this is a marketplace that you guys can see. Oops, I'm on the wrong layer. This is a marketplace that you guys can see. I'm just going to take a little bit more of a striking color so that you guys can see my arrow. And this is my study below. And same thing on the right side, a reference of a car. And it's one of my favorite cars actually. And then a study below. Like as you can see, I didn't do the scale properly. I didn't do the text down exactly. It's fine, you know, these are like half an hour to 1 hour studies. You make a study and move on. We do not want perfectionism. Similarly, here there are references on the top and studies at the bottom. Here I just added a bit more story. Here also I changed the character and added a bit more story, like this person collecting fireflies. Yeah, so it's very simple, very straightforward, and it's just having a lot of fun. Here are examples of more studies where I went a bit crazy using textures and all of that. Like I wanted to make a study with one of the brushes. I was actually creating a new brush, so I wanted to make a study and use it. Let me see, where's the brush? I think it's this, it's my chaos block. So yeah, you just take this and yeah, that is the brush. So yeah, I was just using the brush in random places to get these random textures, just like that. And it's fun. So that texture brush I spammed in all four of these artworks just to have fun with it. And yeah, I mean, that's the whole point, right? At the end of the day, we want to make art that we like, we enjoy making, and have fun. That's the point of being an artist. And we get to do that, which is amazing. Okay, so goals and milestones for painting. These are other studies that I've made in the past, so I just thought I'll put them there on the left side so you guys can see. in case you all don't want to look at the text. The goals are to have fun and get into the flow of making art. Don't try to make everything look pleasing or aesthetic. Sketch and paint because you love it, not for views, sketch for you. Okay, so the 4-month timeline is if we make one sketch a day and like a painting every 2 days, we are going to end up with 120 sketches and 60 paintings. Doing this alone in 4 months is probably more than most artists create in a year. And it's the harsh truth, but it is true, and that sounds awesome. Like having that much in just to start the year is insane. Okay, so yeah, I hope that motivates some of you guys. And this is like 180 pieces of art together. I mean, you guys can put it in an art book after this, right? That's awesome. Next up is phase 2 is building creativity. So let's focus on these: storytelling and composition, then thumbnails and rough sketches. Oops. So thumbnails and rough sketches. Then number 3 is studying other artists, and number 4 is creating original artworks. These are the 4 building blocks of how we're going to build creativity. So let's tackle that right away. Okay, so let's start with improving your storytelling and your creativity, right? So here's a one trick hack to immediately improve your storytelling, which is to ask more questions and answer those questions in your artwork. Okay, it's more about show, don't tell. So how do we go about that? Is a good starting point is to remember the 5 W's: is who, what, when, where, why. Okay, so let's do a quick example. Okay, or of a sketch. Say we have, let me just create a new layer so it'll be easy for me to move things around or erase. Let's just say we have a random idea of a window, okay? And we have a person here who is standing or just in the window and reading a book, okay? And to show that it's a window, we are going to add like a window pane, just like this. Okay, so this is an artwork. I mean, we can add some details like a curtain. And yeah, this is an artwork. But now we need to start answering these questions to add more storytelling to this piece and make it completely yours. So who is this person, right? So let's take my character. Okay, let's say girl, or maybe whatever, woman, say 18 years. I can start building up the character. She is in college, taking a break, reading she's in college, taking a break, reading. I can develop her whole biography, all of that, her data. What is she doing? She is reading. We already have that. Okay. Then when is she doing this? Let's say evening time and present day. Okay, easy. Where? Let's put the city as like Mumbai or Bombay influence. Why? Because this why is really close to you and your storytelling. For me, it's like because she's taking a break and there's some nice, cool evening air, the atmosphere is nice, all of that. There are many reasons why she can be sitting there reading a book. So how would this play out where we take all of these plus this? What does it give us, right? So now we have a lot more storytelling context to this. So let's see. Let me just reduce the brush size a little, get something that's easier to sketch with. Perfect. So we have a window. Now I'm just gonna give it a window pane. I'm gonna split it down here, add some latches, because so I lived a few years in Bombay. The modern name is Mumbai, and so I have that in my mind of what it basically looks like. So I'm using that as a reference point, just taking images from there. And yeah, so my character, she's going to be sitting in the window reading a book. So that's like a head side profile. Give her hair a little bit of shine if needed. And So character, book, main elements, I usually draw those out first, then place everything else in. She's keeping one hand there to keep the book like a little open, or she's just turning the page. Like she has like an oversized hoodie. Let's give her some shots. And draw like a leg there. And maybe her other leg is straight down. Like this. Okay, so we have a character, right? Now we can start adding in other elements. So since this is in Bombay, a few people have small gardens that they actually put outside on like a railing or sort of like a small kind of a cage kind of setup. So I'm just going to start drawing that in, and these are usually like custom made. They do not come with the apartments as is. And a lot of people grow plants here. Sometimes they grow things that they can use in their cooking, so they can just take the leaves from this directly from here. And it also just saves space, adds a bit of greenery. Otherwise the city is just brown and gray. It's a lot. Like the city I live, Bangalore, has a lot more parks, lakes, greenery. It's more used to be called Garden City, and now it's just overpopulated and so on. But I'm just adding some of those core elements here. And also like Bombay is a very humid and hot city, so most houses will usually have an air conditioner box that's usually outside somewhere, sometimes on the top, and this connects back in, puts the cold air in, helps regulate the temperature, all of that. Just making a very, very rough sketch here so you guys can just see what is happening. Simple, easy. Okay. Let's add curtains there. And let's add a window pane there. Now, to be honest, a lot of these windows will have grills, but I'm going to remove those grills mainly because to keep the aesthetic, I don't want to like hide my character behind the grills. Let's go with an old style handle over there. Just like this, so we're getting our story. Now inside, a lot of houses here have this steel cupboard. We call it an almirah. It's like this Godrej branded cupboard. And these things last for life, okay? But they're very recognizable. They'll either be like sometimes maroon, sometimes just gray colors, and there'll be like a mattress on top. You know, when guests come, put some extra things there. There'll be some shoe boxes, a lot of chaos, and then there'll be like a calendar that's there, like a red and white calendar sometimes, and there'll be an old clock. And another important thing is that the switchboards tend to be boxy and jut out of the wall, and you see a lot of the external wires. So we can bring that in and build up the visual identity of our image. Now, also, a lot of houses, especially in Asian countries, have external piping because we do not need them to be internalized. We do not have central heating, and we don't have to care about things freezing out here or all of that, the crazy weather changes. So we do see a lot of this piping, and sometimes it may not be the best maintained. So I'm just trying to get some of that feel, like the vibe. Just drawing some bricks so we get some of these pipes. The AC over there. Let's draw some wires, pipes. Well, yeah, you guys are getting the idea, right? So we're taking that simple sketch and already adding so much more storytelling to it. And then, for example, if there are trees nearby or if there are some posters, because this is maybe on the first floor, so some people reached up and put some filmic posters over here. Posters are a great way to show the language of the region or what's interested. A lot of storytelling happens through posters and artworks, or just random branding that could happen. Yeah. And yeah, so this is exactly what I'm talking about. By just answering the questions, you can answer so much about your story, just like that. And this is what done in just a few minutes, right? I'm not going to cut out or edit this out later. This is a proper class lesson, so I want to give you guys the best. Okay, let's go back to my pink color, and here are thumbnails. So what are thumbnails? Now, a thumbnail is exactly what I made just now. It's this sketch, and if you put a frame around it, it just becomes a thumbnail. A thumbnail is just a rough sketch that gives us a good idea of what we are looking at, and we do not want to take this into a finished artwork until we make a few thumbnails and then decide which one we want to take ahead after that. Okay, so here are just random thumbnails I've made for projects in the past. I can show these because none of these actually happened. I'm just splitting the screen in four. And yeah, so these are just random location ideas. There's this character who's going around with their weapon and just different locations. And these are thumbnails for a project I was working on. Like I was creating a cover art for a podcast that actually went on to win some awards. It's called The Ship of Myths. It's folklore and storytelling of myths from South Asian countries. So I was creating the cover art for it. It's like an old pirate who takes you on a ship and tells you all these stories that you can just listen to and fall asleep to. Really good stuff. So these are just examples of that. And here are some more examples of just random ideas I had. These are for the projects where someone wanted a cover art for their song where it has a person, some guy playing on his guitar. So I made like these four options that you guys can see. And yeah, it just gives me a lot more variety and just helps me with my storytelling, all of that. I don't usually use too much references for this thumbnailing phase because I just want to dump the idea straight out of my head. Then I take references to improve it on from there, and I'll show you guys exactly how to do that. Now, the bonus for this is that these rough sketches, when done, why did I write that? These rough sketches, which we get done, okay, get picked up. Okay, what's up with my grammar? Sorry about that. Okay, these rough sketches basically can get picked up and used for other ideas in the future. Okay, so for example, this artwork sketch that I made over here, I turned into a finished artwork over here. And this one on the top left over here got turned into the final album art for this artwork that was used. And so they always have purpose, and they also improve you as an artist and just help you with your ideation and your visual library. Next, we are going to go on to creating original art. So the workflow is very simple. We want to do a rough sketch, then you want to give it rough values. Values are basically just adding grayscale and black and white to the image to understand what is lighter, what is darker, where the light source is, where atmosphere is, all of that. Then we're going to do rough colors just to see if the colors work, and we're going to make a final artwork. So here's an example of a sketch I made for a project, and that was exactly my workflow. Now, the difference between rough colors and final for this was basically just adding in the final details. Okay, that's all. Sometimes a lot of my work, there's not too much of a difference between that. But it's important to know that a lot of artists skip out on this phase, which is using references at every single stage, which is for the composition, for lighting and mood, for textures, and all the ideas you can get for details that you want to add. Some artists just collect references early on and then just make something out of it, and they end up just creating a very close study of that. But if you're creating original art, you want to use different references at every point, and it makes you feel really good as an artist to see a finished piece that you've put together using many different things, and it also improves your workflows as an artist. So the rough idea always comes from your head, but the references help you perfect it. Okay, so here are some examples that I have done to show you guys. So let's look at this one. Here's rough sketch, values, rough colors, and final. You guys can always pause the video at any point to look at these in a bit more detail. And over here, once again, rough sketch, values. I didn't even know what the final creature that we were going to put over here, so I just created the space and did not make the final sketch because I didn't know if we were sketching like a lady or a fox. This is the tale of Ho Tin, like the nine-tailed fox, not from Naruto, but I think from Vietnam folklore, if I'm not mistaken. Vietnam, Indonesia, I'm not sure. I think it's Vietnam only. This nine-tailed fox where a lady transforms into it and then goes and into the village and all of that. So I did not need rough colors for this because there weren't too many details. So I went straight to the final and it looks like that. Here are some more examples of using references at very different points to end up with a finished piece. So here is the final artwork, and I took the characters from this on the top left, the bug catchers. I took the setting from Pokemon because I wanted to create basically Viridian Forest, which is a very nostalgic location from the Pokemon games for me. And I took the setting and design from these two references, where I took like the grass and pathway from this bottom one and this tunnelway from the top one. And I took this as a reference for lighting, basically, this bottom right one, and just to give me a good understanding of what is happening with these bug catcher kits. So, and then I made the final artwork. That's it. So I use a bunch of different references for different things for a lot of my artworks. Let's look at some more. Here, I was using a reference from another artist, which is why I mentioned earlier studying other artists is good, because you see how they simplify things, how they use colors, how they represent the ideas that they have. And I learned so much just by studying other artists. So I wanted to copy like the color, lighting, mood from this artist. His name is Quentin Regnis, Quentin Rains, however you pronounce it. And this setting for the bottom, just to give me a good reference point to create the similar setting in the artwork that I made. All right, here is another artwork. This one went viral of mine. It got quite a few million views when I put it up as a reel. A lot of people asking for prints and all of that. So I used a lot of different references. I used the city setting from this one on the top left, which is like a daytime setting, but I want to do it at night. I used the biker setting from these guys. Then I also collected more references for the city setting at night. And I wanted to capture the mood and the rainy scene from this artwork by Goez. This is an Evangelion artwork, so I want to just replicate that same vibe over here. So I tried my best to do that. And let's now look at the goals and milestones. So we want to study one artist per week. So look at an artist you look up to, pick an artwork that they make and try and do a study of it, and create 2 original artworks per week. By original, I mean even if you're taking references and doing a study, add some unique twist on top of it, or use 2 references to make a single artwork, and continue sketches and studies whenever possible as is. So let's look at the 4-month timeline. We are going to do 12 artist studies, 24 original artworks, 60 sketches. So we're cutting down our sketches in half, and we're going to do 60 because it's great for mental health. And by now, art will become more of a therapy place for you guys than earlier. So we want to keep that going. And 30 painting studies. Okay, so this is way more than most other artists would ever do, and this is very doable at 1 to 2 hours of work every day. By now, you will be good enough to start working in the industry, grow on social media consistently, get freelance opportunities and recognition, and have a decent portfolio. So what I mean by good enough to work in the industry, if we take, for example, a 3 to 4 year college degree, okay, how much in an average college, how much of that is actually spent on random assignments, random lessons, random papers, all of that? And how much is actually spent on sitting and making quality art that you have full control over? And not doing this as a 4-week first research and development, first doing all of this, and then you end up with one final project after all of that. You're finishing your artworks every single day. So you end up doing more in these 8 months than most students do in art school. And that's saying a lot. I don't mean those crash course diploma programs where 1 year and you have to draw for 18 hours a day, like FZD or one of those. Those are insanely good, but you have to sacrifice 1 year of your life for that, and it's worth it, at the end of the day. But I'm just saying, from an average design college, you guys are working way more than that over here right now. So yeah, you would have now created twice as much work as most others. So this 8-month time period is already sorted for you guys, but we're going to take it one step further, which is building your masterpieces. Okay. So the goal here is to create and put out work that is much larger than your usual. Okay, we are aiming for your best in terms of ideas and artworks. Here's where you go all out and work on those random dream ideas you have, whether it's a comic, an animation, a series of artworks, anything. So think of these 4 months as a period of time you have bought yourself by working hard all year. So all the 8 months that you have spent before this are now going to all the 8 months that you have spent before this are now going to combine and compound into these last 4 months where you get to go crazy. And you have now built up enough confidence and fundamentals to take whatever ideas you want and put it out. So we want to stand out and get used to pushing ourselves out of our normal comfort zones. Years where periods of deep work are very important and you have earned it. We want to end the year on a high. So what does it look like? These are just random ideas if you guys are wondering what does the final project look like. It's like 10 illustrations of your favorite book series, maybe a fan art series in your own style and twist. For example, this artwork on the left is like a Pokemon fan art series that I was doing, where I was just redoing Pokemon in my own art style and just creating some fun pieces just because. Then we want to do a script and rough animation for your short film. Another idea is concept art for a game idea that you have, an illustration series for your own story ideas, creating your own IP. Now, what is an IP? IP stands for intellectual property. So it's an idea that you have that can have multiple different outcomes. For example, if you have a story in your head and you put it out in the form of a book, that book is now your property, right? You own that. But that can also be made into a game, made into a TV show, turned into a webcomic, all of that. It is your own original story, basically. That is what your IP is. And creating a comic book, doing the first chapter, doing character design challenges, doing a world building mini project, do something based on folklore or mythology, collaborations with others like musicians, authors, etc., and creating tools for artists. Like sometimes artists realize that there are many gaps and things that they would like to do and build. Like, so one of my friends created a magnetic easel thing that just snaps into place, and I'm like, cool, that's like a great product. You can create software. For example, there's nothing good that makes pixel art well, so you can just spend 4 months just creating pixel art, like a pixel art software. There are things that you can think that's out of the box and nothing stops you. So there are no rules, just think ambitiously and make it as easy as possible to work as hard as you can. So let's show you guys what I've been doing, my workflows, and give you guys examples. So step one is to come up with your idea. Now, the first step was actually to write out a lot of my ideas first before collecting reference images. So once I came up with the concept that I liked, I started creating different reference image boards covering various sections that I wanted to cover. So I have this idea that I've been working on, which has this main character in a city that is a combination between Bombay, Bangalore, where I live, and a future modern twist and take on a different future that we are going to head towards. And there's a magic system involved. Oh, it's complex. So I need to collect as many reference images that I can. And this one is based on the culture and architecture. So I'm creating different boards based on different things. This one is on, hey, if it's a slice of life, what do the street vendors look like? What would their lives look like? What does the general environment look like? Then I had an idea for a train kind of setting. So I collected train references, what they would look like. And I started making sketches and thumbnails. So I was like, okay, let me pick a moment of my story or a location of my story, put it down and see what I can sketch, whatever comes up. So I thought about a train. I thought about this cafe kind of chai stall that exists within a train. And I thought, okay, let me start sketching out rough sketches. So you guys can see the thumbnails that I've put out here. Very simple, straightforward. You guys may not be able to understand each one of them. But yeah, let me zoom in a bit. There's a train. It's basically an abandoned train that people have just repurposed into like a chai stall. Okay, so I was thinking about how do I go about it. So I usually create about 4 sketches because the first 1 or 2 tend to be a little bit more generic. The third one is interesting. And the fourth one, you really have to push yourself and think out of the box. So that's why I like 4 sketches. So I took one idea forward. I thought about a simple side view and I turned to much more of a rough final sketch. I just fixed the problems that were there, like the proportions, the composition, all of that. I added a lot more detail and structure to it. Then I took it and turned it into like a rough values to understand what the mood is I'm going with, what's going to be the darkest, what's going to be closest to us. And I then took it to the finish. And this is what the final artwork looks like. Here's my main character. Here's the chai stall vendor with a lot of stuff there. Other people sitting, standing over here in these places. And yeah, it's interesting to see, like, even though the floor is diagonal, his stall is pretty straight. Like, kind of. Okay, so I needed to make sure about all those things because you can't be making chai on like a slanting platform, right? And I can do a lot more for the background. Like, I could add a lot more life, add more people, add all of that, but I just wanted a good concept art piece to get started on and take it from there. So I ended up with this piece. And yeah, I really like it. And it's super fun. And here's another way of how I'm just going about building my ideas right now. The one on the left is just a rough sketch I just made at a cafe one time where I had like a rough idea and I wanted to redo the entire idea and place it on like the sea line side because Bombay has a coastline and there are a lot of things that happen over there. It's quite interesting. So I was like, let me put a modern city background. Let me put an iconic bridge, which is like a sea link bridge in Bombay. It's very iconic and I thought I'll put it on the like the coastline. So I put an old train, converted it into like this chai stall and put it there and I called it the last stop. Just a temporary name. But yeah, this is what it looks like, how I go from rough sketch to just a rough concept art piece. And I'm working on this project in the behind the scenes. I don't know where it's going to go. It's just a fun thing I do whenever I get time. And let's look at some other examples. So we have here another rough idea, which was for this Pokemon artwork that you saw earlier. It's like a character and they're Pokemon Gengar, which is my most favorite Pokemon. Like I love watching it on TV as a kid and that stuck with me. And so I do the rough colors and then I tweak the rough colors a lot for the final artwork. I wanted to make it a bit more cohesive, a little bit more vibrant. It was getting a bit too dark and grungy on the left, so I wanted to make it a little bit more inviting, that this world is not gloomy, it is fun. So that's what I wanted to do, and throw back to Ash, who I threw in over there. And as you can see, there's a lot of Pokemon in the background. Um, Here's another example of that. And this is just another fun project that I've been doing. So you guys can always do something that you guys want as a final project and spend the last 4 months going all out on this because you spent the first 8 months building up and you now have hundreds of artworks and you can do anything you want with that. You can monetize it, put out downloadables online, create a successful social media account, all of that. If you guys want more information on how you can learn more things and reach a place where I have right now, you can watch any of my other YouTube videos totally for free. You're on YouTube. I'm trying to put out as many guides and free classes that I can. And also check out my Patreon for a lot more free stuff and my Gumroad to download all my brushes, resources, everything. But thank you guys for checking out this video and I will see you guys in the next one. All right.